One of the number 4 tenet of our 3 tenet of our 5 ways to reduce costs is to use smart automation. Okay. And so that's one of the great things about the managed service providers like RDS from AWS and Azure SQL Database managed instances, is that not only do they patch the minor versions and do that for you automatically, apply the hot fixes for security and that sort of thing, but with Azure SQL Database, Azure SQL Managed Instance, that is, it'll even upgrade to the newest version, major version, so that you are always on whatever the latest version is. And, you know, if you're like me and you've had to do upgrades on hundreds of SQL Server instances throughout your organization, that was, you know, it was kind of like a nightmare week that everybody knew we'd be working long hours to get those servers back up so the customers, our internal customers, could use them. But these systems will take care of that for you. And so most of the vendors do provide not only that minor patch capability, some of them give you the major patching capability built right in. You don't have to worry about it anymore. But then they will also do auto scaling of resources. Now, at a minimum, most of them will auto scale storage. But in some cases, you can even say, say for Amazon EC2, Azure VMs for SQL Server, you can say if it gets CPU gets this and such high, move to a better class of instance and give me that better performance. So you can have those auto behaviors built in. And the one that Joseph was specifically asking about is what we call instance scheduling. So there's 2 ways to look at it. There are manual ways. On AWS, you'd use Lambda functions. On Azure, you would use Azure functions and say, if workload drops to this and such level, or between these hours, we know that no one is working on the system from 9 p.m. until 6 a.m., for example, you can just shut down that service. And when that happens, you only pay for the storage. And I believe there's one other element that you pay for, the CPU perhaps, but everything else is no longer accruing costs. However, AWS RDS and Azure SQL Managed Instances also have instance scheduling built right into the tool. So that means you can say within your particular managed service, here are its working hours, and outside of those working hours, shut yourself down, don't accrue those costs, and then later on, turn it back on. So that's another smart way to take care of that. And there's cool things you can do if you want to go to the trouble of using the Azure Logic apps or Azure Functions, that sort of thing, or Lambda, and that you can have dynamic, you can have predictive, you can have machine learning driven sorts of ways to auto start and auto stop your instances.